Hello. Today's stories come from r/IDontWorkHereLady. Ooh, we have a wholesome burger today with the juicy bits in the middle and no MSG, Karens anywhere. We start with our first. Hey, you don't work here. Want a job? This didn't happen to me, but it was relayed to me by the manager. There was a locally owned hardware store close to where I was working. This place had the most amazing selection of fasteners nuts, bolts, screws, etc., down to M2 Allen screws, the kind of stuff you'd never find at a big box. Everything was always in its place. You would never see a bag of M3x5 screws in the M3x8 slot. It was heaven for a tinkerer like me. One evening, I complimented the manager on how immaculate the sections always were, and she started laughing. She tells me that it used to be a mess, but one day everything was in the right spots. But none of the employees would take credit. They all hated having to organize the section. I can't blame them. And everyone was confused. They started joking about being visited by the Bolt Fairy. A couple days later, she notices a teen boy intently looking through one of the drawers. Then he moves a few bags around and closes it. She realized she was witnessing the Bolt Fairy in action. He notices he's being watched. He muttered a timid, "I'm sorry," and turns to leave. The manager stops him and says, "Don't be sorry, but I can't have you working here unless you work here. Can you come back later with your mom or dad?" He mutters a shy, "Okay," and leaves. About an hour later, he comes back with his mom. The mom was looking apprehensive and apologetic. The teen looked like he knew he was about to be in big trouble. The mom explained that her son was autistic and loved organizing things. He wouldn't get stressed about things that were disorganized, but just enjoyed sorting stuff. The manager explained that for insurance, legal, and moral reasons, he couldn't work in the store unless he worked for the store. The mom said that it wouldn't happen again, and the teen's eyes started to water. That's when the manager pulled out an application and a uniform polo and asks what hours he wanted to be scheduled. The mom just started laughing, and the boy exploded into tears of joy. I found out later that he worked there for about 2 years, until his family had to move across the country. When he put in his notice, the owner found out where they were moving, went online, and found another locally owned hardware store with good reviews, contacted them, and gave a glowing recommendation. Hands down, this has to be my favorite I Don't Work Here Lady story. It's so cute. Let's check out some comments from people who confess to being your local store's Bolt Fairy. Kitchen Arm said, "You didn't work here, but you do now. Very nice feel-good story." Swordlord asked, "Man, where's a place I can work with my crippling video game addiction? Laugh my butt off." In response, Kitchen Arm said, "Video game testers. Had a classmate who got a full ride scholarship from Nintendo out of high school. Never did figure out how he pulled that off, but was always stoked for the guy." Twade shared, "People who first get to know me, ASD, autism spectrum disorder, expect me to have traits of OCD, but I just don't. I only organize anything there's a specific reason in my head for it. My wardrobe has piles of unsorted clean clothes that would bother even a neurotypical person. Come to think about it, bolts in the wrong drawers is actually something I might absent-mindedly fix. So I don't know what I'm on about." Anomalous Coward said, "Same here. I'm really chaotic in my own spaces, but sometimes I see something that just needs to be sorted. At one job, I used to be the first in every day, and the night shift would have left the sink full of tea and coffee spoons. While I was making my own first drink, I'd idly wash all the spoons, and it seemed natural to me to lay them out in a row. Over time, I started getting fancier, laying them out in alternating directions or flipping them over. Eventually, I got into 2D patterns too. There were 50 or so spoons. It was only after some time I heard anyone commenting on the weirdo OCD spoon fairy that nobody could identify." Death by Banana Peel shared, "I used to work at a little mom and pop toy shop. We had a giant shelf of hundreds of different wind-up toys. We would occasionally get a customer who had a little boy that loved to organize all of them, which was a huge help to us because we were supposed to have it organized by closing time, and it would sometimes take over an hour to do. Kids were constantly playing with them and then putting them away in the wrong bin. So it kind of became unofficial store policy that whoever was working the register would buy the kid his choice of wind-up toys when he was done. Eventually, the owner found out and told us she would cover the cost from then on. It used to really make that kid's day, though." "Sigh, are we done yet?" said, "Aw, that's a good boss." Our second story brings the meat to our I Don't Work Here Lady burger with Tesco manager got right in my face. About 14 years ago, when Reliance Security provided security for Tesco stores, I also worked for Reliance, but was based at the airport. One morning, after a 12-hour night shift, I decided to go into a Tesco store that I pass on the way home and get a sandwich. I had my work uniform on, but I was wearing a gray jacket on top, so people would know I'm not on duty. So I go into the store and pick up a basket and head to the sandwich counter, and I'm browsing the selection, and I hear someone say, "Excuse me," but not expecting anyone to be talking to me, I carry on looking for my desired sandwich. Then, suddenly the basket is slapped out of my hand, and there is this snarling man's face less than an inch from mine, and he says, "I'm not paying you to shop. Get to the front of the store right now." So I'm tired and very confused and can only muster the reply, "What?" He said, "I told you to get to the front doors. We've been open for customers for the last 30 minutes and you've not been in position once. And now I find you buying snacks." That's when the penny dropped and I simply replied, "I know the store's open to customers because I am one. I work for the same company who provides security, but I am not your guard." With those words ringing in his ears, all the color in his face drained away when he realized what he had just done to a customer. Suddenly, he became completely apologetic and said if there was anything he could do for me, he would gladly help. I informed him I would like help carrying my basket around the store as I was tired from a long night shift, and he replied he would get someone to help me immediately. I then told him I did not want someone else to carry my basket. I wanted him to carry it. So I originally only intended on buying a sandwich. But to teach this guy a lesson, I spent 30 minutes in the store and went in every aisle. Yes, what a power move. The store manager shouldn't be talking to anyone like that. He definitely got a taste of his own medicine. Well played, OP. Let's check out some hilarious suggestions on what OP could have also done. On to the comments. Sasu Joe said, "Even if you were an employee, that was rude of a manager to handle it that way." Cat in the Mirror added, "Hence the punishment." DB2 said, "Nothing was learned that day." Chew Bubblegum Kick Butt said, "I'm sorry. You see, when I physically assaulted you and screamed in your face, I thought you were my employee, who couldn't do anything about it. I wouldn't dream of treating a customer that way." Frack that dude with something hard and sandpapery. Jason K said, "Should have decided at the last second to not purchase anything." Hero Win 6 said, "Laugh my butt off. I would have just bought what I came for with him holding all that crap." Jinxed One added, "Ha, I just came for the sandwich. You can put the rest back." Our second to last story will bring the smile back to your face. It's titled, "I Don't Work There, but Someone Noticed I Gave Another Shopper a Hand." A couple of days ago, I was looking for bargains at our local grocery outlet, a U.S. chain which specializes in procuring overstock items, factory seconds, and closeout items from name brand and private label suppliers. I love shopping there as one never knows what might be available on any given day, and the prices are usually much lower than what the items originally sold for. My concentration was broken, though, when I heard a thud and the sound of falling merchandise at the end of the aisle I was shopping in. I looked up to see a woman about the same age as me, male 76, who had accidentally clipped a display filled with bags of marshmallows with her cart, knocking that cardboard display over and scattering the bags down the aisle. Seeing the shocked look on the woman's face, I just said, "Here, let me help you with that." I stood the display back up, and she and I corralled all the escaped bags of puffy goodness and stacked them back up like they had been. It only took us a couple of minutes. When we were done, we exchanged, "Have a good day," smiled at each other, and went on our respective ways. I didn't think any more of it. I finished shopping and found myself standing at the back of one of the long, busy checkout lines behind several other shoppers with full carts. Suddenly, a clerk appeared at my elbow and indicated that I should bring my cart and follow her over to one of the closed registers, where she motioned me to unload my cart. Cool, I thought. They're opening up another register. So I went to grab the "This lane is closed" sign to hand it to her, but she said, "No, just leave that there." It was then that the light bulb came on in my brain. They were temporarily opening up a register just for me, This VIP treatment had to be the store's way of thanking me for helping that lady. That was just so cool. It still puts a smile on this old face. That is so nice, it's almost unbelievable. I wish there were more acts of kindness like this in the world. Let's head to the comments where the wholesomeness continues. Zether009 shared, "This reminds me of a time. Going to the local grocer, I'm making my way in and I see a rogue cart, one of the small ones, rolling towards a bunch of cars. It was picking up speed, but I decided that I could just stop it in time. So I quickened my pace and did just that. I stopped it maybe a foot away from hitting a car. I didn't think anything of it really, but when I looked at the car it was about to hit, I saw someone behind the wheel. I got a grateful nod for something that would have otherwise have gone unnoticed. Still feel good about that one." Murloc3 said, "Sometimes the karma bus picks you up and drops you closer to where you were headed instead of running you over. Good deed for a good deed." Aunt B Loves You said, "So, did you ask the fellow shopper out? That's a great, neat, cute story." Leighton said, "I can see it now. They both bend down and realize they picked up the same bag. They pause and look into each other's eye, and everyone is reminded of the spaghetti moment in Lady and the Tramp." Aunt B Loves You replied, "Sigh. It's like a Hallmark Christmas movie," which, by the way, are some of my favorites. Our last story is the side to our meal and comes from I Do Work Here Lady. I just thought it was a cute little side story and it didn't get a lot of attention. It's called Playing Trains. This dates back to the early 2000s when in the UK the most common way to plan your train journeys, before the local franchises had decent websites, was to phone up a service called National Rail Inquiries, who would provide you with all the details you needed. At least, in theory. My now ex needed to travel into London on a Saturday, and being a nervous traveler, she phoned up asking for a route with no changes and no replacement bus service, which is often laid on at the weekends to cover sections taken out of use for engineering works. As she hung up, I looked at the details she'd noted and immediately spotted something that looked wrong. So I picked up the phone, hit redial, and by a lucky chance, I got the same guy and confirmed the journey details with him. So I asked, "And there are no engineering works on that line?" "No, there aren't." "Can you just double check that for me?" Him starting to sound slightly irritated. "Okay, sir, there are no engineering works on that line on that date." "You're absolutely sure about that?" Him, slightly more irritated now. "Yes, sir." "You're certain?" Him, now clearly getting annoyed. "Yes, sir." "That's interesting." Him, an exasperated sigh and tone dripping with condescension. "Oh? And why's that, sir?" "Because I'm the technical officer supervising ripping out and replacing 200 meters of rail on that line between Station A and Station B. So I'd be very interested in hearing how you intend getting your trains into my worksite and what you plan on running them on when they get there." There was a pause that went on for a few seconds too long. Then, as if the entire preceding conversation hadn't happened, he said, "Due to engineering works, a replacement bus service will be operating between," at which point I interrupted him with my own exasperated sigh. "Yes, I know. I just basically told you that. Now I'm going to hand you back to my partner. This time, can you please give her the information she's asking for?" Not the most dramatic example, but I found it quite satisfying at the time. I thought OP's delivery was on point, given the shortness of this story. It wasn't the juiciest, though, so there wasn't a ton of attention or comments. There were two short ones that caught my eye, though. Let's check them out. Stinky Pie Ticklebum said, "I have a particular set of skills." I Have Good Username Too said, more like r/ don't know who you were talking to. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.